Hello, everyone. I want to give you an update on my watch list. I'm kind of hoping that I could give you some guidelines as I do this. And maybe those who watch these kind of little updates and the little tips that I give can be useful for you. That's my aim. Okay, so I begin with my first one on the top of my list is Rama Steel. And this one went through a stock split a few days ago, I think about 3 or 4 days ago. So it's a 4-to-1 stock split. In other words, if you own one share, all of a sudden you have four shares. And then and then what happens is the price gets adjusted. I think the price was at around 170, 175, something like that, and then it split into four shares, and right now each share is at around 42.35. Okay, and you'll see where it says upstocks entry and upstock stop. I have a second account on upstocks, and I just added a little bit of this, but then my regular one in Zeroda, it doesn't show up here because my Zeroda has not been updated yet. It might take up to a week. I've sent them a message, asking about the delay, and I'll find out, and so they will reset everything. So anyway, so this is where it stands, and I noticed basically there's a resistance here. You see that line there, and I'll draw that SR line. Yeah, so there's a resistance there, and then where I have my stop, that's my bottom support. So here's the support and here's the resistance, and then after the stock split, the price went up, and of course, this pricing has been readjusted, I think, proportionately. And so this shows the last 3 days, right? 2 days ago, yesterday, and then today. And that's where it stands right now. And I'm just watching it. And my 20-day average and the 60-day average and the 200-day average are lining up appropriately. So my plan is to stay in the trade as long as the 20-day stays above the 60. Okay. And then I still have the stop, my stop loss set as well. So I'm looking at that very carefully. The next one is FACT. All right, FACT. There's my entry, and it's crossed over. And look at this. It's crossed over, and it came down. This was a resistance, and it crossed over, and it came back down, and it tested it, and see, it's gone up. So now, the support resistance line is here. So it's going up and down. So my stop loss was down here before, somewhere around here. Okay. And I moved it up here because I noticed there's right here, there's like a resistance, there's like a support right there. Okay. So I put my stop right below that support. You notice that before it was down here somewhere, and then I moved it up. Why did I move it up? Because it's the support resistance is staying here at this level. So in the future, once this breaks out and goes here and finds support here and then starts bouncing up and down here, then at that point, my stop would be right here, close to where my entry is, or right below my entry. Okay, so basically that is what I would do with FACT. And then you'll notice that my stock price is above the 20-period moving average. The 20 is above the 60 moving average, and the 60 is above the 200-day moving average. All right. The next one is BEL. This is something that I'm not happy about, but the pattern it went out of the pattern, and so I would have sold right there when it went down. Okay, but this time I thought, since I already have a stop loss, let me just leave it and see what happens. This is a trade from last year. I thought I would just leave it and see if it gets stopped out or not. Okay, and so that's where this one stands, and so the pattern is not good right now. RVNL. Okay, so there was a huge breakout. Look at the move up. And what I'm looking at is where this pattern started. So we're not very far. Like that was somewhere in November, October. See, October, November, it was only 2 months ago. So 2 or 3 months ago now, and so I'm kind of like feeling like we're on the early stage of this breakout. So let's see what happens. And right now it is up and down, swinging up and down between the support and resistance, and I'm waiting to see what happens here. But what I've done here was I put a target to sell at this all-time high at around 84. I placed a target to sell. I want to get out right there. Okay, I'm not going to try to fight with it because the all-time high seems to be something that's a huge resistance. Then, if it breaks out again and finds support at this level, then I might think about entering again. Okay, but right now I put my target right here to get out, and then you see my stop loss right here at the previous swing low. All right. Now, Star Cement is another one. Star Cement, you'll see that this pattern was there from here, somewhere around September, but then the 20 went a little bit below for a short while and then came right back up. So this is something else that I'm keeping my eyes on. I've entered this trade also, by the way. I am in these trades. All these that I'm mentioning right now, I have entered those trades already. But here's what I want you to do. Look at this. So this up and down swing. Okay, so I'm watching carefully and see what happens. Right now, it is below my entry. That's fine as long as the pattern is holding up. Okay. All right, next one is Zomato, and the infamous Zomato, and you will see that that this pattern right here, all right, this up and down swinging pattern has been kind of a channel. See that channel pattern is there, and so that's something that may be a possibility right there. I'm waiting to see what happens, and but look at this. See, two times, once, twice that line has been respected, or that area has been, here's 3 times. Okay, that's been respected. So let's see if this continues to move up. But then my entry is way up there. So it's quite a long ways. 95 is my entry. So it's a long ways. I'm not sure where that stands. So right now, the areas that I'm feeling good about is Rama Steel, FACT, and then RVNL and Star Cement. Okay, all of these look like they're in good patterns, and only two that are not looking so good for me. Okay, and then I put Nifty like a placeholder holder. For my watch list, everything above Nifty are my holdings. I already own those stocks. Okay. Now, I will show you a few below that I think might be something for you to consider for your watch list. Okay. India Bulls Housing. Look at this. All right. Just recently, it got into this pattern. So I'm looking very carefully at this, and these are possible future trades. All right. Now, if you're thinking of this, what should you do? I would wait until this resistance is crossed right here. See, 161 is a resistance. And once that resistance is crossed, and if the pattern still continues, that's something that I would consider entering. Okay. NIACL, okay, New India Assurance. All right, again, this pattern just began. Look at that. These are the types that I'm looking for where the pattern has just began. Look at that. And so here's the up and down swing. Actually, you would have a closer swing right here. It might even say it would be right here. So the swing down and up and down and up. Now, what would you do with this? Well, if it once it breaks out of this level of 142.75, 132, or 143 might even be better. By the way, you can double tap this and you can just change the coordinates. That's a quick way to do it. 143. So that's an area of resistance, and if that resistance is broken, and that's reconfirmed, that's a place where I would consider entering. All right, sale. All right, Steel Authority, and this is one that looks like it's beginning to break out, but not yet. Not yet. Okay, look at that. Not yet. But I'm looking very carefully, because if it breaks out here, then this pattern may get set just like that. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm just watching it. I've not made any decisions on it yet. But of course, I don't want to hold too many shares, stocks. Right now, I have 6. I don't want to go beyond that. For new traders, I'm suggesting you hold only 3. Okay, maximum 4, but 3 is good. 3 is good. And all right. And I also feel like this is more than I really should have. 4 or 5 is enough for me. All right. LIC housing. Look at that. LIC housing finance. This also just got into that pattern. But then there's been a negative shift right here, and I'm watching carefully to see what happens there. All right. National Fertilizers Limited. Look at this. Again, this has just entered this pattern somewhere toward the end of November. Okay, so I'm looking at how we can get into this pattern in the early stages, okay, but looking at the price action carefully. So here's the swing up and down, but only enter once this resistance is crossed, okay, and then only enter with about 20% or something like that, and then wait a couple of days. If it's still moving in the direction that we want, then add another 20 or 30%, like that, slowly add to that trade. All right. And then, of course, your stop loss will be right here at the previous swing low. All right. And also, when you enter, make sure that the pattern is right. Okay. Don't enter just, so make sure that this pattern continues to stay like that. Okay, with the 20 period on the top, 60 below that, and the 200 below that. That's the National Fertilizers. Indian Bank, look at this. Indian Bank is another one that's in this pattern, and that pattern started somewhere in last July, but it looks like the pattern is still there, and you might notice it says exit because that's where I sold last time and took profits there, and I might change that to a support resistance line, so that yeah, here we are. There is a support resistance line, and I can bring that down here to make it more accurate. There it is. Okay, here's the swing up and swing down, support resistance. All right, what should you do with this? Wait until this resistance is crossed. But then if you enter, make sure you set your stop loss right over here at the previous swing low. Okay, all right, next after that, Bank of Baroda. There's another one that's in this pattern, okay? But then you're close to the all-time high. So if you enter this, if I were to enter this, this is what I would do. I would enter, and that's about 24% right there. So if I enter that, I would think about putting a target right here to sell right about, close to that all-time high and just get out. Okay, otherwise it may get pushed back down. Canara Bank is another one that's looking good and still far away from its all-time high, and that's another one you can look to and wait until the resistance is crossed. Here's a resistance right here on the top, and wait until that resistance is crossed, and then you enter with 20 or 30%, and then gradually add to your investment as you go up. But then make sure you put your stop loss right down here at the previous swing low. All right. Then there is Yes Bank. All right. Yes Bank has been a speculative stock for me for a long time. And I really didn't invest much in it. But recently, there's been some changes in the regulation. Some things have opened up. And Yes Bank was in trouble, but now they're gradually coming out of their troubles, and investors are really interested in it. And take a look at this right here. November, the pattern changed. Look at that. It turned into our pattern in November, the 20, 60, 200 pattern. It's come there. Now, Apollo Tires. All right. Again, that pattern began somewhere in August, way back, but still that pattern continues to hold. That seems to be kind of a long-term outlook, but then you've had several weeks of this up and down movement right here between these two levels. So that's something to look out for. Don't enter any of these trades. You make your own analysis. And what I'm looking for, I'm looking to see this cross above that. VBL, Varun Beverages, is another one that's come into that pattern at November. But what to do? All right, because it's right there at the all-time high, what I would do with this is that I would wait until, I'd wait until the all-time high is crossed. All right. And then wait for it to come down and retest and go up again. All right. That's what I would do. Okay. Then NMDC. NMDC is another one that seems to be in that pattern. And it seems to be in that pattern right there. You'll observe that level. And I will wait until that resistance is crossed right here on top. Let me redraw that line. And then the next one is South Bank right there. Again, you'll see the support and resistance levels there. And then I'll just move this resistance level a little bit higher here, and the support at the bottom a little bit higher. Look at that. That pattern began, our pattern began right above right there. Okay. And there's just a few more. McDowell is another one, United Spirits. And this one is one where it turned negative, and I'm not considering that at all. REC Limited is the next one. That looks good, same pattern. And then drawing the support resistance line right here, I'll move it up to that resistance. And the support, I would put it, actually it's right here because that resistance right there, but I would put it right down here. Let me draw that very quickly. That would be the support right there, okay? And then BHEL is another one, and still holding well in this pattern. And then Bank India is another one that is holding right there. That entry point was an old one. Let me get out of that right now. Okay. All right. So, and then Godfrey Phillip is another one. And I'm not going to go through all of these. I need to move up the all-time high. I've moved it up right there. And don't enter until that's broken through. GE Shipping is another one where the all-time high has been tested. Don't enter until it's crossed safely and you get a reconfirmation. PFC is another one that seems to be in that pattern, still close to the all-time high, but you still look for about a 21%. I'll just put a target right there, sell order right there. Hindustan Copper, getting into that pattern right here, but you won't know until it moves up a little bit further. And here's a few others also. ICICI is another one. ITC is another one that has turned back down. All the others on the list are negatives, and these are just there. I'm just watching them and waiting to see what would happen. Look at it, all of these are negative. And I won't touch any of these until that point. IOC looks like a positive, and we saw a huge move today. It was today. All right, that's something to look at. And Power Grid, all the others right here are all the negatives, and I keep those on the bottom just to keep an eye on them to see when they would turn around. Okay, I think that's enough. Castrol India, Sun Pharma, I've gone through most of my list already, and then that brings me to the top again. Thank you so much. I hope this benefits you. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll be glad to help you out with what you're doing. Thank you. God bless you.